All right, baseball fans, buckle up. We're about to take a deep dive into a potential offensive explosion brewing over in Queens. The New York Mets, they're building something special, and trust me, you're going to want to hear about this.
You hit the nail on the head. What's really got everyone's attention is their focus on just raw power. Building a lineup that's built to just intimidate every pitcher they face.
It's like they're assembling a team for the home run derby, but with way more potential. We're talking Pete Alonso, already a proven slugger, and now, of course, Juan Soto. It seems like he just lives on base. So could this be the start of one of the most feared batting lineups in baseball history? Yeah. Today, we're going to break it all down.
And you can't help but draw a parallel to what the Yankees did with Judge and Soto last year. That duo, they kept opposing managers up all night.
Everyone keeps bringing up that Yankee comparison, so let's talk about that for a second. What exactly made that pairing so scary?
It was just this constant threat of a game-changing swing. Pitchers were basically put in a no-win situation. Do you challenge Aaron Judge, risk a towering home run, or do you play it safe with Soto, knowing he's probably going to get on base, right, and set up even more scoring opportunities?
Sounds like pitchers were basically, damned if they did, damned if they didn't.
Exactly. And that's exactly the kind of pressure the Mets are hoping to replicate.
And speaking of pressure, let's talk about Pete Alonso for a second. The polar bear, he mashed 34 homers last season, drove in 88 runs, definitely proving that he's one of the most consistent power threats in the entire game. But I'm really intrigued by his new contract, right? 3 years with opt-outs. That just feels like a win-win for both him and the Mets. What do you think?
Oh, it's definitely a smart move for both sides. For Alonso, it gives him stability and that chance to be a part of a potential championship run in New York. But those opt-out clauses, those are key. If he keeps hitting bombs at this pace, he can test free agency again while he's still in his prime and command an even bigger contract.
So basically he's betting on himself, but in a way that also helps the Mets.
Yeah.
So they're getting a proven power hitter for at least 3 years, and if he just, keeps getting better, they've got a chance to keep him long term.
Exactly. It's a gamble for sure, but a gamble worth taking, especially with a player like Alonso whose work ethic and leadership are just, unquestioned.
All right, now let's turn our attention to Juan Soto.
Oh.
This guy, he's a different kind of beast altogether. His 2024 stats, they speak for themselves, right? .288 batting average, .419 on-base percentage, .569 slugging percentage, 41 homers, 109 RBIs. It's ridiculous. What makes him such a uniquely dangerous hitter? Is it just raw power?
It's way more than just power. It's his incredible plate discipline. Soto has this almost supernatural ability to just identify pitches and work counts in his favor. He's not afraid to take a walk, which, puts so much pressure on pitchers to throw strikes. And then when they do, he's got the power to just punish mistakes. It's that combination of patience and explosiveness that makes him such a threat.
He's playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers.
Exactly. He's always thinking, 2-3 steps ahead, analyzing the pitcher, anticipating their next move.
Okay, so we've got Alonso's the home run machine and Soto, the on-base wizard. Put them together, and the Mets suddenly have the potential for a seriously scary lineup.
And this is where it gets really interesting. It's not just about their individual talent, it's how they complement each other.
Okay.
So picture this. Soto works a walk, putting a runner on base for Alonso. Now, the pressure is really on for the pitcher, right? Any mistake to Alonso, it could easily be a 2-run homer.
Talk about a high-stress situation for the other team. They can't afford to make a single mistake, or the Mets are going to make them pay.
That's what's so great about this potential duo. It creates this ripple effect throughout the entire lineup. Opposing pitchers have to be so careful with every single pitch because, even a little mistake can lead to a big inning for the Mets.
So suddenly we're seeing those shades of that Judge and Soto fear factor that we saw with the Yankees last year. Teams were practically forfeiting innings when those two came up to bat. It made every single game must-watch TV.
That's exactly the kind of psychological advantage the Mets are hoping to gain. They want opposing pitchers to feel defeated before they even step on the mound.
So it's not just about the raw numbers. It's about creating a sense of dread in the opponent's mind.
You got it. It's about building a lineup that can win games before they even start.
This is already shaping up to be a fascinating deep dive. We looked at the individual talents of Alonso and Soto, the similarities to the Yankees' power duo, and the Mets' smart approach to all of this. But there's still so much more to uncover.
Oh, absolutely. And we'll be back in part 2 to discuss the potential challenges, the impact on the rest of the Mets lineup, and the bigger implications for the National League. You won't want to miss it. All right, welcome back to our deep dive, looking at the Mets power play.
Yeah, we've been kind of unpacking the potential here of Pete Alonso and Juan Soto as like a dynamic duo.
Yeah, kind of exploring how those contrasting styles could make them just an unstoppable force.
Okay, so we've painted a pretty exciting picture so far. But let's be real for a second. I mean, every team, they face challenges, even a team with this much firepower. So what are some things, some potential roadblocks that could actually prevent Alonso and Soto from, really hitting their full potential?
Well, yeah, I mean, you're right. There's no guarantees in baseball, right? One major factor, as always, it's injuries. Baseball, I mean, it's a tough sport.
Hmm.
And keeping these guys healthy, over 162 games, it's crucial.
We know both Alonso and Soto. I mean, they've had their fair share of injuries in the past. So if one of them goes down, I mean, for a long time, that could really mess up the Mets' plans.
Absolutely. Another challenge is really the supporting cast. I mean, even the most talented duos, they need a strong lineup around them to really thrive.
Right? They can't be expected to carry the
Right.
entire offense.
Right. Exactly. The Mets, they need other players to step up, get on base, create scoring opportunities. Otherwise, other teams might just start pitching around Alonso and Soto. Intentionally walk them to avoid that big inning. I mean, think about it. If the bases are empty, why risk a home run? Just take the walk, hope to get out of the inning without giving up any runs.
So it's about making sure the rest of the lineup is strong enough to actually punish those teams that try to neutralize the power duo. So they know if they walk Soto, they're just going to have to face Alonso with a runner on.
Yeah.
I mean, it changes the whole dynamic.
It really does. It's like a chess match. The Mets, they need multiple threats out there to keep those managers guessing.
Okay, so we've got injuries, we've got the supporting cast. What else could potentially, derail this dynamic duo?
Well, sometimes, believe it or not, the biggest hurdle can be chemistry. How well will Alonso and Soto work together
Ah.
on the field, off the field? I mean, that's something we just can't
It's
predict.
that intangible thing, right? We know they have the talent, but will their personalities work together? Will they push each other? Or will there be some kind of rivalry that could actually backfire?
Yeah, team dynamics, they're really important in baseball. If these two guys can build a strong, bond, a shared sense of purpose, it'll really elevate their game and the team's performance. But if there's friction there, it could have the opposite effect.
So it's not just stats and home runs.
Yeah.
It's about leadership, communication, building like a winning culture. That's what separates, good teams from the great teams.
I couldn't agree more. Now let's shift gears a little bit and talk about the potential ripple effects that this duo could have on the rest of the Mets lineup.
Because it's not just about Alonso and Soto, right?
Yeah.
I mean, their presence is going to change how other teams look at the whole batting order.
Oh, absolutely. One player I think who could really benefit is Francisco Lindor.
Our all-star shortstop. I mean, I can see why he's a threat to steal bases and a solid hitter.
Right. So imagine Lindor, batting ahead of Alonso and Soto. He's known for his speed, his contact hitting. Now, with those two sluggers coming up behind him, pitchers are going to be terrified to walk him. That means more fastballs in the strike zone,
Yeah.
and that plays right into Lindor's strength.
So it's like a chain reaction of pressure, right?
Yeah.
Lindor gets on base, Soto draws the walk, then Alonso comes up with a chance to, clear the bases. Opposing pitchers are going to be under the gun every single inning.
Exactly. And let's not forget about the young prospects coming up, like Brett Beatty, Ronnie Mauricio.
Right, they're going to be surrounded by veterans who can teach them, show them what it takes to win at the highest level. I mean,
Yeah.
talk about a crash course in winning baseball.
Yeah, and that's, invaluable experience for young players. Learning from guys like Alonso and Soto, I mean, that can really speed up their development and help them reach, their full potential so much faster.
So it's not just about the immediate impact of this duo. It's about building a sustainable winning culture for years to come. I mean, that's how you build a dynasty.
That's exactly right. And that's why this whole scenario is just so exciting for Mets fans. I mean, the potential is there for this team to become just a dominant force in the National League for years to come.
But the NL East, I mean, it's stacked. The Braves, the Phillies, the Marlins, they're all really good teams. Can the Mets really, rise above all of that?
I mean, there's no doubt the competition is going to be, really tough. But that's what makes it all so interesting, right? Can Alonso and Soto, can they take the Mets to the top of that division?
It's the ultimate test. I mean, can they lead the Mets to their first World Series since '86?
That's the big question, isn't it? But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, there's one more really crucial element we need to talk about. Those strategic ripple effects across the whole league.
That's right. I mean, if this power duo, if they live up to the hype, it could force other teams to really rethink how they build a winning team. So could we see a return to, the days when home runs were king?
Well, we'll be back in part 3 to explore those bold predictions, and examine the potential legacy of this duo, and really consider what it all means for the future of baseball. Stay tuned. You don't want to miss it.
All right, we're back for the final inning of our deep dive looking at the Mets power play.
We've really analyzed, the potential of these guys, Pete Alonso and Juan Soto. We've gone over the challenges they'll face, and we've even thought about their impact on, the rest of the league.
Now it's time to look ahead, right?
Yeah.
Ask the really big question. What's the ceiling for this dynamic duo? What kind of numbers are we really talking about here if everything just clicks?
Well, I mean, we could be looking at a combined, 80-plus home runs, maybe 200-plus RBIs a season. And remember, this isn't just about hitting home runs. It's about consistent offensive production. Soto's on-base percentage, I mean, it could easily be over .400, which gives Alonso even, more chances to drive in runs.
That's got to be a nightmare for other teams.
Mm-hmm.
Just knowing that every time they face these two, they're probably going to give up, multiple runs.
Yeah, and it goes beyond just the numbers, right? I mean, think about the impact on the fans, on the city. A duo like this, it can electrify a fan base, bring a whole new energy to the ballpark.
Yeah, it's about making baseball fun again. Right, bringing back that excitement, that anticipation every time they come up to bat.
Mm.
Fans, I mean, they're going to be on the edge of their seats, wondering if this is the at bat, where they make history.
Yeah, they could become the new faces of baseball, drawing in a whole new generation of fans.
Okay, let's talk about legacy for a second. If this duo, I mean, if they really live up to all the hype, where do they rank, among the greatest power-hitting duos in baseball history? I mean, we're talking Mantle and Maris, Ruth and Gehrig, those iconic pairings.
I mean, those are some big shoes to fill, for sure. But the potential is there. What really sets Alonso and Soto apart is that contrast in their styles. You got Alonso, he's that classic power hitter, just swings for defenses. And then you got Soto, who combines that power with incredible patience and plate discipline. It's a combination we haven't seen in a long time.
It's like a perfect blend, right? Of
Yep.
thunder and lightning, just keeping pitchers off balance.
Exactly. It's that unpredictability. That's what makes them so dangerous. Other teams can't just focus on one strategy because they never know what to expect.
So what does this all mean for the future of baseball? I mean, are we seeing the beginning of a new era of, power hitting?
Well, it's definitely possible. Teams, they're going to be watching closely to see how this all plays out. If the Mets, if they find success with this, power first approach, it could change how other teams, build their rosters.
So instead of focusing on small ball manufacturing runs, we could see a return to those days where teams, they just prioritize home runs and slugging percentage.
Yeah, it's a really fascinating idea. I mean, baseball is a game of, constant evolution, adapting to new trends, new strategies. This could be the start of a new chapter where power hitting is king again.
And it all goes back to these two guys, right? Pete Alonso and Juan Soto. I mean, they have the potential to really change the game as we know it.
It's an exciting time to be a baseball fan, that's for sure. We're really witnessing something special here, something that could redefine the sport for years to come.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we'll leave you with this thought. What if everything we've talked about, I mean, what if it all comes true? What if Alonso and Soto, I mean, what if they become the most feared duo in baseball history?
It's a question worth thinking about. The story's just beginning, and we'll be here to break it all down for you every step of the way.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the heart of baseball's power revolution. Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking those questions, and keep that passion for the game alive.